Welcome back. Thank you for coming back for another round. Before we get into the topic for today, firstly, I trust you enjoyed the series that we just completed. I did a series with Adam on the presuppositions of NLP. If you haven't checked all those out, go and have a little look-see. And I also wanted to let you know that what we're entering into now is Series 3. Some of the topics I'm going to be covering in Series 3 of Automatic Mouth is going to be things like shame versus guilt, imposter syndrome, overthinking, red flags, forgiveness, trust. We'll be dabbling a little bit in personality profiling and looking at things like dissociation, emotional templates, and emotional regulation. So we're going to really dive a little bit into some of the emotions and feelings and strategies, I guess, that we have put in place as humans to survive whatever we're going through in life. Once we can see them, that's when you can actually start to take control and tweak what you need to tweak or weaponize what you need to weaponize. So we're going to delve a little bit deeper into that, and I'm going to be having a host of different guests coming on to enter the discussion and get some different perspectives and thoughts and ideas around it. As with everything on Automatic Mouth, everything is through, my lens in this case, everything is through someone's lens. So in my opinion, there is no one truth. There is the truth as you see it. It's true to you. So whenever you listen to anything from Automatic Mouth or from me as a coach and mentor and a trainer, I always say, please take what you want, leave what you don't. There's no rule here that says you have to change your mind or believe what I believe or anything like that. It's simply about broadening your thinking, broadening your mind, and allowing for other possibilities so that you can frame the way that you see the world. Okay? Brilliant. So let's kick on with episode 1 of Series 3. And I'm going to kick it off with some thoughts and discussion around shame versus guilt. Now, this came up for me and sort of flooded my brain, as it does. I was watching a show on Apple TV called Presumed Innocent, Jake Gyllenhaal. And his lawyer said something really interesting that has sparked this episode. I'm going to read the quote to you, and then we'll expand off that. The quote is, "Shame is something that you put on yourself. Guilt is more about owning and feeling the pain you've caused others." I thought, wow, okay, hang on. What? Let's go down that rabbit hole. And so I did. And whilst this may be just the beginning of the rabbit hole, I wanted to share with you and get your thoughts on it. And I guess open up a line of thought for yourself to think about shame and guilt. Are they the same? Are they different? What makes them different or what makes them the same? And I'm a big believer of the more you know or the more that you understand about yourself and how you label things, the more you're able to regulate and understand why you do the things you do. And in turn, obviously, it gives us a lot more empathy and understanding of other people and their emotions and their behaviour and all those things. Makes us a better human is how I see it anyway. So I looked up what shame means, the actual meaning of the word in the Oxford Dictionary. So it comes up as shame being a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong behaviour. And even that sort of throws me a bit because I'm really all about labels and meanings, and that we only give the meaning of things is only what we give it, isn't it? What is wrong for me may have a completely different meaning for you. So even saying the consciousness of wrong behavior requires its own expansion, in my opinion. However, I thought there was a good explanation of it: a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong behavior. So I guess becoming aware that something wrong. Now, the interesting thing about this, it doesn't say by the consciousness of wrong behavior of your own or of someone else's. So I feel like shame is really bringing in that overthinking and perhaps the rumination over and over of some behavior that really threatens your values, really goes against what you, at your core, feel is right. Yeah. And I certainly get this when it comes to abuse. Those of you who have listened to my earlier stuff on automatic mouth, I did a series on a bit of my life story, and obviously there's a lot of abuse in the background of that. And so I understand how, as a child, that shame that can come about from abuse within the family home, or anywhere actually, to be honest, any kind of abuse on a child shows up as shame, doesn't it, in so many cases. And it makes sense to me because as a child, there's a real essence of innocence, isn't there, about love and care and nurturing and protection. When a child's first born, there's an innate, I guess, expectation that the people around you, your caregivers, will protect and keep you from harm. You don't sort of know so much about pain from other people when you're a very, very young child. And so it's not within your innate self to expect pain. Therefore, I believe that what you value is that beautiful, nurturing, loving environment and feeling and emotions. And then when someone who is, I guess, supposed to provide all those things and be part of all those beautiful things acts against it and actually causes pain, you can see how there'd be straight away this internal conflict, wouldn't there? It's going against, it's conflicting what you know so far about what your life is meant to be at such a young age. So you've got this internal, okay, hang on, what's happened here? This doesn't seem right. This doesn't feel right. And so I think that's where shame stems from, is that you're also trying to figure out, is this everyone or is this just me? And if it is just me, what's the reason it's just me? And very early on also, we start to learn, don't we, if you do something wrong, there's a consequence, there's a punishment, there's something that doesn't feel so good. So when you put those two things together, someone's causing you pain, so then you equate that, again, you're quite young, you equate that with I'm being punished. Well, when do I get punished? When I've done something wrong. So what have I done wrong? And that's where we struggle, and the shame comes in, because again, this is just my belief, take what you want, leave what you don't. I believe that we don't know what we've done wrong. We don't think we've done anything wrong. So then we start to question, I'm, as a person, as a human, I'm faulty, I'm broken, I'm not a good person. So that internal shame starts to really manifest, and I hear lots of my previous clients when I'd work with abuse victims and myself really be able to identify with this blackness inside them, this darkness, you know, and that not wanting people to see that darkness. So I feel like that's that shame that just grows within and spreads, you know, through your body like a cancer almost. The shame of settling, the only way you can survive, settle with the belief that this has happened or happening to you because as a person, you're just not good. It's not something you've done. It's not an event. It's not a, you know, mistake you've made. You as a human are the mistake. And so therefore you deserve whatever's happened. That's how we rationalize it. And that shame becomes very internalized because because of that belief, you almost refuse to blame anyone else for it because you've rationalized it by saying, oh, well, it's just, I'm a defect. The way I was born, I'm defective. I shouldn't have been born. So this is why I deserve this. So that's how I feel about shame and how it manifests, and that it's very internal. It's very much tied to your beliefs and your values, and it's all about identity. It's internal. So then if we look at guilt, when you talk about guilt and even someone says, oh God, I feel so guilty. Do you see there's a difference even in the way the word falls when you say it. If you say to yourself out loud though, please, I feel so guilty versus I feel so ashamed. Ashamed weighs heavier. I've heard people, and I've even said it, oh my God, I feel so guilty. It can almost have a light kind of comedic tone to it. Like, oh God, I feel guilty, sorry. That kind of feeling. Because guilt then is actually more about doing something you don't want to. Perhaps a friend has asked you to help them move house. And you're there on the Saturday morning when you're meant to sort of rock up at 6 a.m. to your friend's house to help them start packing stuff into the truck. And you're just laying in bed thinking, oh, I really don't want to do this. I'm tired. It's raining. I just want to stay in bed. And so then you ring your friend. Oh, look, I'm a bit sick. I don't feel well. Sorry. Can't help you. God, I'm so sorry. I feel so guilty. And even then when you hang up the phone, you might still be thinking, oh, I feel so guilty. That is still an internal thing, isn't it? It's still that you're conscious of wrong behavior and perhaps your behavior. You're thinking, I want to be the sort of person that other people say, oh yeah, Alison's so good, you can always rely on her. I just got to give her a call. She'll always be there. And you want to be that person. And then you've just behaved in a way that goes against that. Yeah. It's in conflict with the way you want to be and the way you want to be seen. Your behavior is in conflict with that. So then you feel guilty. And I think a big difference here to bring up at this point is, you see, when we talked about shame, and I said it weighs really heavy, because it's around identity. It's not about something you just did and you feel shame about. Shame is about you as a person. There's no one event. It's even if there was, something that happened to you that was very traumatic, and it was one single event. The shame is because you've turned that event that you must have played a part in that. You must have deserved it somehow because you've been punished. It's seen as a punishment, whatever happened to you. And it's almost impossible in our minds at that point to flick the switch and make the other person responsible. So shame is that heavy identity. I am the problem. I am broken. Whereas guilt, see how it's very external? You feel guilty about one decision or one thing that you perhaps have done. And so you, it's attached to a particular event or a particular behavior. I feel so guilty when I sneak, a chocolate and tell the kids that they're not allowed to eat chocolate. There's none left, but actually I've just eaten it. I feel a bit guilty when I do that. You see, again, it's not attached to your identity. It's not a deep feeling. I do believe, I've heard people say, that guilt can eat away at you. And I do believe that's true. However, I wonder at what point does that guilt, though, turn into shame? Because I feel like guilt happens, it's like almost a first layer, perhaps. Tell me what you think. I feel like guilt is when you first either do something that's in conflict with how you'd really like to be. You first do it and you feel guilty. I also think that guilt, that first feeling of guilt, is also attached to what if someone else finds out? How will they judge me? Because it's that first feeling of guilt is about who you want to be seen as, and what that behavior actually appears like. They are in conflict. So in order for there to be a conflict, who you want to be versus who you just acted like, that relies, doesn't it, on the judgment of other people. We're not relying on our own judgment then, because we go ahead and do it anyway. So there's a real external element to guilt. And I do think what plays into that is the fear of someone else knowing and what they might think of it. Hence why I think that comedic element comes in as well. Imagine if I'm telling a friend, I feel so guilty when I, cheat and have fast food for lunch. And then, my son wants to have fast food after school. And I say, no, you have to eat healthy. Meanwhile, I've just had, Macca's for lunch. Oh, makes me feel so guilty. We say it almost with a comedic tone in our voice, perhaps because what we're looking for is we want the other person to not judge us harshly and to actually say, oh, don't worry about it. You deserve it. Don't worry. Give yourself a free pass. So we want that acknowledgement that, oh, okay, so I'm not a bad person. I just did something that's a little bit, naughty or against what the norm is. So you feel the difference and the weight of the difference of guilt and shame. And as I said, I really think there's an element about getting caught in guilt. I really do. So this is really just a surface, my surface thoughts on this topic. As I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and feel free to add to the discussion. There is no right or wrong. It just is. And the way that we expand our consciousness and learn about things is actually by allowing other perspectives to be heard, and you take what you want and you leave what you don't. It does not have to change your mind. It can simply be about taking little bits and pieces of all the sorts of things that you hear and see and learn, and developing ideas and thoughts around that. So yeah, let me know what you think. And as for the next episode, we're actually going to be looking at overthinking and how that manifests, how it looks in different people's lives, what we can do about it. Is it healthy? Is it not healthy? Is it helpful? Can it be weaponized? All those sorts of things. Let's really dig into it and find out if it's something we should even do anything about, or if we're good. So until then, I trust you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again. See you later.